Well, that's a long story. My affiliation with Stout goes back to a cold winter day in 1950 when I was born, and my mother and father were living in the married student housing known as Fair Oaks on the east side of town. And they were obviously both students, and a year later they moved me into Lynwood Hall, which was a men's dorm that at the time was located on Wilson Avenue, just kind of a half a block up from Harvey Hall. And at that time, they had a bunch of built-in babysitters with the men that were there. And I've often had people say, "What kind of parents did you have that they would leave you with a bunch of college freshmen?" Well, if you think back to that time, all these guys were in their mid-20s. They'd come back from the war in the service, and I still run into them, and they say, "I changed your diaper." And then I grew up as a faculty brat, so I got to see football games at Nelson Field and basketball games at the old National Guard Armory and Central School, because at the time Stout did not have a facility large enough to play basketball in. Learned how to swim at the old Natatorium, which is just kind of, I guess, west of Fricklin. It's also long gone. When I was 18, I did not want to go to Stout. I wanted to get out of town, so I went to River Falls for 4 years as an English major. And then Dunn County stepped in and drafted me. So I spent 2 years in the Army and came back and said, you know, the Stout's a pretty good place to go to school. So I did work for a year so I could afford a new car. And then took another 2.5 years to finish my packaging degree. Was hired right on campus by General Mills. Went out to their Lodi, California plant, and then saw Chicago plant, and finally up to the corporate headquarters in Minneapolis. And I am now happily retired for slightly over 10 years, and I owe all of it to Stout and my experience in Menominee, being affiliated with the university, and certainly the education I received.